I think I'm going to skip over fire line organization. That's all stuff you're going to learn anyways. I mean, a lot of this stuff is stuff you're going to learn with your S100 and your S185.
Did Kathy talk to you about the tickets that they're getting at the college?
No, what tickets?
When they leave here? I don't know if I have my list.
It's the
First aid, S100.
yeah
There's
transport
chainsaw, crew boss.
Good.
S213 and 212, I think it was.
I got the 212. That's the
214.
radio communications 212, I believe.
I got the thing right here.
I got it right here somewhere.
Okay.
This is awesome. You're going to get right schooled.
Yeah, but you guys don't get the DTA.
No, that's like I say, it's a hard one
Yeah.
to get. To get it, you have to have forestry experience of some kind, and they may, depending on how much you have, may let you in the class or may not. Because there's only before COVID, class size was only 12 at the most, I think.
And that would
And they do
probably-
one in each area. So, and of course, there's danger tree assessor tickets for parks and other things as well. But that's specifically fire line danger tree ticket. So your OFA 1, great. My level 3 first aid instructor said OFA 1 is really good. You'll know just enough to really do some damage to somebody.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is a lot better.
Pretty much.
So yeah, your PSO, chainsaw safety and maintenance, great. That's like a half-day course usually.
Everybody left it open?
I did?
Oh, perfect.
Then your OFA 1, of course.
Yeah, and your keys are sitting.
Generally, if you're an OFA 1, you're not going to be expected to do a lot of first aid, but they want everyone who's out there now to have just the basics understandings, right? Then your S100, great. Fire suppression. S185, fire entrapment. So the fire communications, I have that one as well. Oh, 213, heavy equipment, crew boss. 235, burning off and backfiring, I have that. These are some great, so yeah, good job. These courses are going to really set you up. And the more tickets you have, the more in demand you are, right? Like I say, I've got every ticket except for faller, basically, so
You could get Faller in like a day or less. Yeah, it costs like 30 grand.
that's the thing. So let's just talk about fire line safety. So there's a couple different roles that have to happen on a fire. You have to have a lookout, and that's not always going to happen, especially if you're in a small direct fire attack, like I was talking about. You're in a Type 2 crew and you're with an initial attack crew. You probably won't have a lookout in such cases, but generally if it's a larger fire, there's going to be someone sitting up on a high spot who's got view over the entire area. One of my experiences in doing lookout was it was so smoky that the ground was very nondescript. You couldn't really tell where. You couldn't say to someone, if you go to this tree or this place, because it was just so smoky, but we could tell where the smoke was emanating from. So what I did, I was on a hill 2 kilometers away from the other lookout, and I set my compass to him, and then I set my compass to the fire, and then I got him to do the same, and then I drew on my map and told the guys, go to J3. So simple things like that, right? But having that lookout, they'll be the ones who tell you like, hey, it's burning around you and you're not aware, get out. Communications plan, big one. And escape routes. So you have the right to refuse work, even in a forest fire situation. You might be questioned, but it's not going to get you fired. If you aren't sure, speak out. If you're in doubt, back out. So you have your LCES system of work safe procedures. That's your lookout, communication, safe escape routes, right? So you want to have all those in mind every time you're on a fire. Who's our lookout? What's our communication? You know, that'll be something that's like, we're on Gold 5 today channel. That can be something like that, right? But you have to have your communications established, your lookouts, and then you got to know how are we going to get out of here if things go sideways. So as you're always going into a fire, take it into a stock, everything that's going on. Safety zones are going to be places like maybe it's a body of water, or maybe it's brush that doesn't tend to burn very well, like say poplar stand. You know, I would have no problem going and running into a bunch of and willow and alder brush and shit like that doesn't burn well, right? So in the fire though, the couple things for safety you want to be aware of is like I was talking about wearing the Snowmax clothes. It won't melt to your skin the way cotton would. But the big one is to protect your airways and lungs. So a lot of firefighters who die, if you look at some of those stories you've heard, did you ever see that movie? What's that movie that came out?
Only the Brave.
Only the Brave. You've seen that story, Only the Brave? Yeah. And those guys get caught in that flashover, and they put their, I mean, we don't use these things in BC, but they got into their little metal thing. What do you call it? What's that thing called?
Shelter thing?
Little shelter thing,
Oh,
right?
their, emergency shelter.
So they didn't die from the fire. What did they die from? Asphyxiation, right? So what happened was the fire was so hot, they're breathing in this air that's 500 degrees, burns your lungs out, and you got blisters boiling in your lungs, can't breathe. Or the other thing that can happen is the fire will eat all the oxygen, and there's just no oxygen. And you'll feel that too. You can be outside a big fire, and you'll feel the wind sucking towards the fire as it's eating in, right? So there's places where there just isn't air. So the idea that wearing those shelters are going to help you is just, bullshit. Don't get into that position to begin with. That's your main. Other places you can go hide: a fuel-free depression, a trench, maybe behind a rock, the side of a ridge away from the advancing fire. Beaches or roads. Roads are great. They're already there. They're already a trench that's sort of dug in a sense, right? A guard. Staying low, protecting your airways, your only chance to survive those kind of conditions. And I know our time's getting short, so I want to. Does anyone have any questions?
I know you mentioned something about the level 3, which I wanted to do the level 3, but it's not offered in this.
It's a 2-week course.
Yeah. Well, the one that I wanted to go was a 3-week course.
Right.
In Prince. And I don't even know if I'm gonna get into it this year or not.
Take it if you can. Absolutely. Besides all the work that being an OFA 3 can give you.
That's one reason, because that opens up my whatever to do any job basically.
But it also means you become a competent medical practitioner. An OFA 1 is not a medical practitioner. An OFA 3, you're qualified as a medical practitioner in that sense that if you walk by an accident scene and don't do something, and same if I have my firefighter plates on my truck and I drive by something, I can lose tickets or be liable or whatever, right?
It could be like a criminal offense even, if whatever the situation is.
So one of the great things about being an OFA 3 is that information is translatable to your pets, your animals, your horses, your kids, your grandmother. You know what I mean? You become a.
Yeah, I'm totally okay with that.
You become the person in crisis, and it's not for everyone. Like I know myself.
Who was that person in crisis?
I know myself. Like I like to be in the heat of the moment in the battle. I know the next day I might not do very well. I know that about myself, right? So I know an experience where someone died. I was okay at the moment. I was doing my job, but the next day I was a fucking mess, and I still go to counseling sometimes. and now I'm sober, right? So being a first aider can really affect you. Fire suppression. A couple key words. Fast initial attack. Aggressive action. Prompt and complete mop-up. Hit hard, hit fast. Overkill. Attack the fire where it's most likely to escape. And if you're asking for resources, ask for more than you think you need when you're talking to command, right? Another thing you can do too, and I might edit this out, but we've been known to steal from other crews. We go walking by their truck and they got a couple hose lengths that look real nice and clean. And you'll find that thieves are these little connectors that you have between hoses that you can run another hose off. So that's something that you might look into someone else's truck and be like, hey, they got a bunch of thieves, they got a bunch of nozzles, and it's not unheard of. Watch your gear, because there's fires sometimes where there's just not enough of everything. There's just not enough hose lines, there's just not enough pumps yet, there's just not enough, right? And you see a crew that's not using all their stuff. So that's the way sometimes problems have to get solved. Ask for more than you think you need, right? Control line. Does everyone know what a control line is? So control line is where we intend to fight the fire at, where we intend to make our stand, right? So your control line may be some distance away from the fire. It may be an area that's more accessible to roads, an area with thinner vegetation, an area that you can probably stand a chance. I mean, here they have a great image, and I can just sort of explain it to you, but they have a roadway going here, and then you have a lake down here and some swamps, so the planes come over in that gap and drop a bunch of retardant down, and that's going to suppress that area. Then you got a bit of a rocky ridge up here, so here's your main points of fire line, these two sections. Like, we can trap that in there, so you use your natural obstacles to your advantage that way, whether it's road or water or whatever, right? So your depth of your fire line will depend on your fuel and the soil type and how the behavior of the fire is. Sometimes a trench just that deep is enough to stop it from walking further, right? So you'll find when you're in that initial attack job, you're going to be doing a lot of hand trenching because there's not going to be machines there doing it for you yet. And when you're in a Type 3 crew, you're probably going to show up to a fire that's already been going on, and some of those control lines are established. And once the control lines are established, so you can imagine you have this circle of an area that's a fire, and now we got control lines all the way around it. We got the thing kind of trapped in that area. Now we're going to push in on it. Now we call it black lining sometimes, or green lining, depending. So black lining is an area that's already burnt, and you're going to put a lot of water on it just so anything in the ground gets killed out, right? So, and you'll notice when you're black lining, they'll say black line 1 hose length out. So everyone goes 1 length off of the control line in, goes 50 feet in, and flattens that area and just waters it down. So all that, and you'll see the color of the ash on the ground will change color as it gets wet. So you'll know if you hit it enough, right? And that, suffice to say, green lining is when it's a green brush and you're trying to soak it down to prevent it from burning, right? So you get that control line around the fire, you work your way 50 feet in, then the next day you're going to work in 50 feet more, and then eventually everyone's working in from all sides, and we get it. Squeeze it off. So your fire attack methods are your direct method, which is probably what's going to happen 90% of the time. That's what I just explained. Everyone's going to basically try to contain the fire into one area. Parallel method, here's a great one. I'll read what it says. This method is applied in situations where a fire is spreading at a moderate spread rate. The fire intensity is too high for firefighters to perform direct attack, or the burnt area is highly irregular, making direct attack inefficient. The fire line is constructed as close to the fire as heat and flames permit. This technique helps to control the fire as opposed to immediately stopping it. So that's when I was explaining that maybe you're going to be some distance away from the actual fire. So that's sort of a parallel method. And then your indirect method is when you start using bodies of water, lakes, hills, and things like that. And maybe you'll start backfiring and burning out the area of the fuel. Backfiring is super fun because your main fire is going to be sucking oxygen into it. So you have your control line here, and we're going to go around with our drip torches and set everything on fire as we go. But what's going to happen is the sucking nature of that main fire will pull those fires you set into it, right? So occasionally they get out of control. But if you got a hot enough fire in there, you can be some distance away from it, light everything up, and then what you've done is just removed all the fuel. And now that fire's got nowhere to go, right? So those are, so mop up, which we've already talked about. You're looking for hot spots. And cold trailing too. It's a method of determining when a fire is still burning. It involves methodical inspection of burned areas. So sometimes when you're cold trailing, one of the ways I like to cold trail is to use the back of my hand. You don't want to burn your hand in the inside, right? And you got a gray area, I just put my hand on top. Come down to it slowly, but this is a very sensitive area, you got a lot of big vessels and whatnot, you'll feel that heat. You put your hand right in the ash, cold. Then maybe you'll start digging around, right? But another way I've found a lot of hot spots is by using my nose. You know, I can smell them. Something's not right here. And you start.
Yeah, you become a hunting dog out there, it's fun.
Yeah. So yeah, backfiring. I think I'm just jumping through a bunch of stuff quickly. But yeah, you're gonna learn it all. The next time you're gonna hear a lot of the same stuff again and again and again. And that's good. I mean, the more you hear it, the more you know it, the deeper it's put into your head, the better firefighter you're gonna be, right? And I have high expectations of anybody who wants to be a firefighter. Like, you know, I don't accept excuses and laziness and weakness. And I mean, it's one of the few job sites where that is the case. You know, where if you aren't physically able to do the job, you just can't be here. So that's the big one. Keep your health up. Keep your strength up. Questions? All right. If I could say one more thing, a couple more things about pumps. Your Mark III pumps come with a toolbox, and in the toolbox is all the tools you'll need for the Mark III pump, but also an instruction booklet. So what I have done, well, on a fire, sometimes you have two pumps, and you'll have one kicking the other one so they both can get up the water uphill, and sometimes you only need one of them. So you're sitting there and you got a pump. I've taken mine completely apart, cleaned them out, learned everything about them. You might think that being the pump operator is kind of the BS job, but it's in some ways the most important job, keeping that water delivery going, right? So one of my claims to fame is when I've been on pump operations is no stoppage of water coming from me, you know, and that's key. You don't want to have a guy on pump who's never worked on a tractor or never, you know what I mean? Because you want that pump to go. And so many crews, they get screwed by having pump troubles and they flood the thing and now it's not working for 20 minutes and that kind of stuff. So you know, pump operator, hugely important job. And sometimes you're going to have, like, they're going to bring a truck up and fill a bladder bag full of water, and you're going to have very limited resources in how much water you can use. So use less water, right, as much as you can, and get in the habit of it even when you have a lot. But some of the best fires I've been on were ones where we had a creek and we had the pump in it and we just fired water 12 hours a day, you know. And that's it looked good on us because everyone else was using bladder bags, but we had the access down to the creek. And so they're waiting for trucks to come fill their bladder bags up all day. Well, we were just killing fire. And then you're gonna learn some stuff about pounds per square inch too with your pumps. As you're going uphill, you're gonna lose pressure, so you're gonna need extra pumps. And there's calculations to that you're gonna learn. I think I'm gonna probably stop around there because it's getting 2:45. I know you guys, it's Friday. You probably don't want to be here too long. And plus, a lot of what, if I went into too much detail on some of this stuff, I think you're gonna hear it all again next week, right? So mostly, I think if there's anything you want to ask about my own experience, now's a good chance because that's stuff you're not going to hear in a course. And if you don't, that's fine too.
So on a regular fire season, and I know it varies, right? What is the average amount of summer, fall that you think that you work?
I mean, it'll really depend on the season and depending on what kind of crew you are in. If you're in a type 1, 2, or 3 crew, if you're in a type 3 crew, you're going to be sitting until there's a lot of fire. If you're a type 1 or 2 crew, you're going to be busy all year. Sometimes it's real late starting into July, sometimes it's early starting, sometimes it's late ending, sometimes it's early beginning, sometimes there's lulls in the season as well. So each season's going to be very unpredictable, and you may want to have several other jobs on the go, right? So,
Especially like doing Monster Week, things like that, they do things like that also, right?
absolutely. Yeah, if you don't get a fire season, sometimes you get a flood season. And filling sandbags sucks, but if you're making $300 a day or more, then you're probably not going to care. I mean, often if you're a crew boss, you might be making $400 or $500 a day. if you're an OFA 3 or a DTA, you're probably gonna make over $300 a day. So good fire season. Be ready for it, because you can walk out with 20 or 30 grand in your pocket easily, right?
So flood relief, and would you go in, well, I know, I guess you probably need a color license, right? Like, go in to the forests ahead of time. Who does that?
That's the danger tree assessor.
Okay, okay.
That's
Yeah.
something, that's